television viewers, and those in the diaspora that join us. We have over 30 community radio stations every day in ERPC. We want to thank them for joining us in today's press briefing. At this juncture, I'd like to invite the presiding officer for today's press briefing, Honorable Daniel Sando. Mr. Sando. Good afternoon to all of you, members of the MICAT Reporters Association. Good afternoon to our compatriots who are following via the national television, social media feeds, and on the community radio stations across the country. We are grateful to be back here for another engaging week here at the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism. We continue to uphold the expectation of the public for the regular press briefing of the government of Liberia. So this week, as previous week, have been very engaging, and we are happy to be here. And we say thanks to all of you for joining us, helping us to provide coverage to reach as many audiences as possible. Today we are pleased to announce that our distinguished Minister, Honorable Jeremy Matthew Pia, is traveling with His Excellency the President to Japan to attend the TICA conference, that is the Tokyo International Conference on African Development. While the minister is away, his deputy for administration, Honorable Johnny S. Tapa, is clothed with authority to run the affairs of the ministry in close consultation with the minister. Honorable Tapa, I would like to say welcome. We also like to give recognition to our distinguished Deputy Minister for Culture and Tourism, Honorable Kadiatu Buhiri, is here with us. Other members of the senior management team are attending other matters, making representation on behalf of the ministry. Our guest for today is no other person but Dr. Emmanuel K. Yuri Yapawo. He's the Executive Director at the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA. Dr. Yuri is here with his team to provide comprehensive updates on the EPA's current operations, including the National Dialogue on Carbon and Market Policy, which is slated to take place beginning August 21st to the 22nd, 2025 in the city of Gompa, Lima County. So Dr. Yuri is here to talk about the activities of the EPA, give you some comprehensive updates, and to also provide details on the upcoming event that is to be held in Lima County, that is a national dialogue on carbon market policy. the National Dialogue on Carbon Market Policy, which is slated to take place between August 21st to 22nd, 2025. Dr. Ure is our only guest for today. But before we listen to Dr. Ure, of course, the tradition here depicts that we clear the air on certain issues, give the position of the government, then we can now listen to our guests. It will be climaxed by the interactive section, entertaining questions from all of you, what you think about what we say here. So we request your undivided attention because this is a very important press briefing. The president, as you already know, and his delegation are currently in Japan to represent the Tokyo International Conference on African Development. That conference is jointly organized by the government of Japan, the United Nations, and the African Development Commission. Now, there are a couple of misconceptions surrounding this trip, which I'd like to firstly talk about before going into the other details I have here. We've seen attempts by perpetual critics of the regime to kind of distract, derail public attention on the positives outcome that we as a country expect following the representation that the president and his delegation are making on behalf of the country. So the first misconception is that the president is in Japan to attend the Expo, to attend Expo 2025. That information is not true. The sole reason why President Bouaka is in Japan is to attend the TICA, which is the Tokyo International Conference on African Development. Nothing more. Of course, the reason why the president's delegation is composed in that manner is because at the conclusion of the TICA conference, there are line ministries and agencies of the government that are supposed to represent the government of Liberia at the Osaka 2025 Expo. And so, for example, the Ministry of Information here is the sector ministry for tourism development, cultural initiative, musical performances and everything. All the musicians, the artists, they all fall within the ambit of the Ministry of Information. So if not for the unfortunate passing of Minister Spia's sister, he would have joined the people in Osaka to continue the trip for the export. But Minister Spia would not be there because while he was on the plane going, his elder sister passed. The foreign minister, President Bouaka, was invited to attend the Expo 2025 in Osaka, Japan. But given how engaging his schedule is, he cannot go there. So the foreign minister, at the conclusion of the TICA meeting, will be joining the rest of the folks in Osaka to join the Liberian team to celebrate the Expo. At that Expo, Liberian arts and culture will be displayed. Madam Julie Annie was here last week, and she laid out some of the things that will be happening at the expo. The Japanese government is almost funding almost everything for the country. So the government uses one stone to kill two birds. The president goes to the TICA. At the conclusion of the TICA, those who also move to Expo 2025 to make sure that Liberia is ably represented to go there. That is why the delegation was comprised of the people who you saw on that list. Beyond that, when these international conferences are being held, we agree the president is the chief executive of the country, but the president has able lieutenants that have been charged with the responsibility to manage various sectors of the economy. For example, the mining sector. So if there are potential opportunities for private sector interests to come to invest in Liberia's mining sector, do you expect the president to go and spearhead that conversation? The sector lead for the mining sector in Liberia, Minister Womope, has to be there. He has to be there. All we're talking about is marketing the country on the stage that it becomes so attractive, and people who have money out there, who have investment potential, they come here to do business. Of course, the president has to go with the National Investment Commission boss. Just this morning, the president visited a major health facility in Japan. As a result of that visit, more support is expected to come from JFK. Why? Because the Minister of Health is leading that effort. Talk about agricultural diversification. How are these things going to be happening? Not in a vacuum. Counterpart engagement. Our Minister of Agriculture needs to be on the ground to engage people who already have the resources in abundance, the technology that we need to expand our own agriculture sector. They need to have this conversation. So the president delegation is not going to make and involve in the pageantry while in Japan. Every member of that delegation will be involved with what I call detailed conversations surrounding their various sectors, voting for our country. Every day we decry the condition in our country. And when you have a government that is working day and night to ensure that the right strings can be pulled, attract the investment to make things happen locally, and people always want to take away from the important things. I thought to clear the air on this thing. The people who follow the president are all there for reasons. For example, would you question why the Minister of Information is on the trip? How do we communicate with the rest of the world about what the president is involved with, is doing in Japan, when nobody from the president communication team is there? So, I would like to drill you through the president's itinerary at the 9th Tokyo International Conference on African Development. It is the TICAD 9. And on today, Tuesday, August 19, our President, His Excellency Joseph Dima Boaka Sr., visit the Toshiaki Medical Facility, the Toshiaki Medical Facility. Toshiaki Medical Group is a background giving, one of Japan's largest healthcare networks, renowned for renal care, significantly strengthening Liberia's medical infrastructure during the era of former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf by donating dialysis machine to the John F. Kennedy Medical Hospital, thereby greatly improving kidney disease treatment operations in Liberia. So this has already happened. The next engagement, meeting with the Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA. And the president will be with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Finance, Minister of Mines and Energy, Minister of Information, Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Education, Minister of State Special Services, Deputy Minister for International Cooperation and Economic Integration, Special Envoy on Tourism, and Liberian Ambassador to Japan. So you see, if the president is meeting with the Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA, they will boast of Somalia Drive, one of the best roads in Liberia now. That Somalia Drive came as a result of our engagement with JICA at this very ticker. So when the president goes to this international conference, he's not going to watch a football game. He's not going to visit friends. He's meeting with serious minded international entities to help alleviate some of the burden that we have at home. So the president is a very important group, a group that came in a multi-millionaire role for like years of care. He also going to be back here to connect the road from the street to Freeport. So the whole roundabout, the road from Freeport becomes an enter Monrovia. So by October this year, they're going to be back here to continue another process. Part of the negotiation that we are having with them on the managing of the ticker meeting is to ensure that the goodwill from the street to Freeport and to extend to play booming. Because don't forget, this infrastructure to release our people to live and everything. So they agree. They build full leading role for us. So the person is there. He's there. You can see the handwork here. You can see the outcome of the engagement and everything. So that to make the case for Liberia. As a country, as a people, we cannot continue to hope for the best. So it takes place. It's already on place after 12. At 5 p.m., 5:15 to 6 p.m., President Walker will meet with the Advocacy Bank. For somebody who are the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Commerce, Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Mines and Energy, Minister of Education, Minister of State Services, the Chairman, National Investment Commission, and the President's Senior Economic Advisor. So you see, the composition of the team reflects the nature of the meeting that the President has gone to attend. On the meeting, the President and chairman of the board of the African Bank. Carrying the new instruments of carrying the Minister of Commerce. The order of composition of the job. Effects. At 6:30 to 7 p.m., the President will meet with the International Youth Fellowship, Dr. Pope Sapak, the founder. The President in that meeting will be accompanied by the Minister of Education, Minister of Gender, Minister of Information, Minister of Special Services. On Wednesday, 9 a.m. to 9:30, signing of joint communiques with Seychelles. Sign a joint communique with Seychelles. I can't tell everybody in that communique when they sign. They supply all the details, then we'll let it out to you on Thursday. And at our signing ceremony, will be the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Somebody will ask him, what is the Minister of Foreign Affairs doing there? Well, the country signed a joint communique. Who's in charge? The Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs for International Cooperation and Economic Integration, Liberia Ambassador to Japan, Assistant Minister and Chief of Staff to the Foreign Minister. At 9:45 to 10 p.m., the President will be meeting with the UNDP. Mr. Holland Shu, UNDP Acting Administrator. Ms. Huna Zakwa, Assistant Administrator and Director of Regional Bureau for Africa. The people the President meeting with. UNDP Chief Administrator and Assistant. In that meeting, His Excellency will be accompanied. So there will be 4 participants. The President will not be there. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Finance, Minister of Mines and Energy, the Senior Economic Advisor to the President, and the Deputy Minister for International Cooperation and Economic Integration, Minister of Foreign Affairs. Also on Wednesday, 10:35 to 10:50, there'll be bilateral meeting with the Japanese Prime Minister. The list of everybody who will be in that meeting from the Japanese and Liberia, and that meeting will be held at the Green bilateral meeting on the 3rd floor. The participant will be the President, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Finance, Minister of Commerce, Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Education, Minister of Gender, Minister of There'll be a meeting with the IFC senior management. 12:30 to 1:30, 1:40 to 2 p.m., the photo section on tomorrow. And at 2:20 to 3:25, opening section, opening remarks by the Prime Minister of Japan and the African Union Chairperson or President of Angola. There will be remarks by co-organizers. The President and his delegate will be in attendance. At 3:30 to 3:50, the President will have a meeting with the United Nations Human Settlement Program, and he will be accompanied by some members of the delegation, Minister of Finance, Minister of Information, Minister of State for Special Services, and the Deputy Minister for International Cooperation and Economic Integration. On Wednesday, at 4 to 5:55 will be the plenary section. The first section will be on peace and stability, presenting objectives from the Japan Prime Minister, AU Commissioner, to deliver opening remarks. So, hoping His Excellency President Barker will give 3 to 4 minute remarks on peace and stability. 7:30 to 9, welcome reception, opening performance, welcome speeches, President Barker and delegates. So there's a whole itinerary for an event that is taking place in Japan. I just thought to drill you through so you can have an idea of what is happening there. And as a country, we can be hopeful that the outcome from the engagement that are ongoing in Japan will be an addition to the effort being made by the government on the ground to address some of the problems that we have as a country. We cannot overlook these events. The president attended the FOCA in China last year. There were people asking, what I brought got from them? What I brought got from them? They go to EFDC. $5.5 million broadcast complex is being built. In fact, I'm told we dedicated in the next 2 months. By September, the construction of the overpass bridges will begin. The 288 agricultural equipment so the president wants to of so instead of trying to put aside and trivialize the composition of the president's delegation to such an important meeting, let us follow the details. Let us follow the details. That's not what I can say. A 2-day technical working section on drug and substance abuse commenced on yesterday, 18 August 2025, at the Ministerial Complex in Monrovia. The section brings together representatives from key government ministries and agencies, civil society organizations, and development partners. The primary objective of the section is to develop clear strategies and guidelines for implementing the President's directive to intensify Liberia's fight against drug and substance abuse. A coordinated national program and expand rehabilitation services with strong community involvement. On January 29, 2024, His Excellency President Barker declared drug a national health emergency. In response, he established the multi-sectorial steering committee on drug and substance abuse. The committee is chaired by the Minister of Health, with the Ministry of Justice serving as co-chair. Other members include the Ministry of Youth and Sports, the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, and the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency. The President also expanded the committee to include the United Nations Agency and civil society organizations. The committee mandate is to design and implement a holistic national response to mitigate and ultimately eliminate the use of illicit drugs in Liberia. So, just before this working session was organized, you see that communities across Monrovia have started to take matters in their own hand to carry out citizen arrest and subsequently turn over those involved. Members of other community leadership to work with the joint security to act in similar manner and form. It has to be done in a non-violent manner. Do it in a non-violent manner. We cannot sit as a country to allow this dangerous scourge of drug and substance abuse to destroy the future of the next leaders of our country. We need to act beyond political lines. We need to act beyond religious lines. We need to act to protect the community. And so, while the government is formulating the roadmap, the community is not left out. That's why civil society organizations are included. Communities have acted so far. We are working closely with the security apparatus, and so far, so good. No incident of violence has been reported. In an effort to strengthen rural maintenance and community monitoring in Liberia, National Fund has officially turned over a fleet of 23 motorbikes, a pickup truck, along with computers and printing equipment to the Ministry of Internal Affairs. The support is aimed at improving road maintenance and monitoring in local communities. The donation will help launch the community-based organization CDO road monitoring program, which focuses on identifying and fixing problems on community and federal roads quickly. The program will allow trained community members to report road issues and also perform small repair tasks, like clearing drainage system, and enriching roadsides. This will help keep roads in good condition and make them safer for everyone. The Ministry of Internal Affairs will lead the effort, working with local leaders and organizations to carry out the work effectively. Beyond just fixing the roads, the project also creates jobs opportunities, especially for young people. Around 1,500 youth will be hired as road monitors, giving them meaningful work while improving infrastructure. The program supports the government goals of involving communities more in development and spreading services fairly across all parts of the country. The government of Liberia, through the Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications, is pleased to announce the successful completion of Liberia's first ever digital village. Located in Fuda District of County, the digital village is a state-of-the-art facility that will provide green energy internet connectivity to over 50 homes, including schools, hospitals, clinics, churches, mosques, and other facilities within a 2.5 kilometer radius. The digital village will also offer smart classrooms, education for students, enhancing their learning experience and providing them with the necessary skills to succeed in the digital village. One of the most impressive aspects of the digital village is the ability to provide free solar electricity to over 100 homes within the Fuda district. This initiative is not It's not meant to improve the lives of residents, but also to promote sustainable energy. The digital project was made possible through the sponsorship of Huawei, a leading global information and communication technology solutions. The digital village is expected to be launched soon, and the Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications is working to finalize the preparation. The launch will mark a significant milestone in Liberia's journey towards becoming a digitally enabled nation. The achievement is a testament to the Liberian government's commitment to harnessing the power of technology to drive development and improve the lives of citizens. That last before I invite the Honorable Executive Director of the program. The government has made a significant move in advancing youth empowerment and development with the official launch of the new national service program aimed at tackling youth unemployment and strengthening youth skills. According to the Ministry of Youth Schools, the soon-to-be rolled-out program will initially deploy 150 people, each receiving a monthly stipend of $200 for 30 months through a partnership with the United Nations Development Program. The program builds on the government's existing cadet program, which has already absorbed dozens of participants into permanent government roles. The program is also about providing real opportunities to young people. Last year, the cadet were placed into government jobs, showing that skills-based program are effective for mobilizing private capital and advancing quality infrastructure investment, supporting disaster risk management, resilient infrastructure in Africa, among others. So let me now start there and invite the Honorable Executive Director of the EPA,
information to the public, and I'm glad we are once here in the conference hall. And very beautiful and representative of the Corporal of the country in the Ministry of Information. We probably representative of the see the rest of our media team they are here. The rest of the staff are busy, continue working. There are many things we can talk about. We can talk about our state of the lab laboratory that we set up. It started functioning now. We can talk about the EPA headquarters as well. We can also talk about the enforcement of the environmental laws across the country. Sorry for that. I go through here. I think I will get my WhatsApp off my computer because otherwise, calls started coming in already. Yeah, the calls started coming in already. So just give me a little bit of time here. Let me make sure I get my file back. It interrupted my system that came on the computer. Hopefully I don't do that. No technology work best when work, but when there is interference sometimes. Just think about it. So Just bear with me. Let me get back from file here. Yes, we got it right. Yes, I appreciate the visual of stuff. The hard, rather do the hard time because we don't want this to happen again. Traditions and old school way. Thank you. As I said, there are many things we'll talk about, but I think for today's topic, actually, we'll just go ahead and talk about the carbon policy. So we'll keep it short. We'll keep it in a way that, who wants to stress ourselves in terms of the kind of information we have to share with the public. For today, I will be speaking about the development of Liberia carbon market policy and climate change law. The government of Liberia wishes to inform the public of major strides undertaken in the development of the national carbon trading policy and complementary climate change law. The world carbon market has become a critical tool in supporting sustainable market. It shows transparency, accountability, and fairness. Liberia is determined to establish such a system. The mandate of the National Climate Change Steering Committee, the National Climate Change Steering Committee, or 6SC, is headed by the President of Liberia. It is the highest governing body for climate change activities in the country, including policies on carbon market. At the 24th sitting in July 2024, the National Climate Change Steering Committee mandated the Environmental Protection Agency to lead the developing carbon market policy and closely assisted by the Forestry Development Authority when it relates to carbon that is stored in the forest. Since that directive, the EPA, the FDA, and partners have been working tirelessly to develop both the policy framework and the climate change legislation that will govern Liberia's participation in the global carbon market. Partnership with Coalition of Rainforest Nations. To strengthen this process, the government of Liberia signed a letter of agreement with the Coalition of Rainforest Nations. On this partnership, CFRN is providing technical assistance to support the drafting of Liberia carbon market policy as well as conducting a comprehensive forest inventory to determine Liberia carbon stock. This stock taking is essential as it will establish the baseline of the country's natural capital in terms of carbon storage and set the stage for future participation in the international carbon market. On a capacity national government with CFRN support has been conducting capacity building programs and training or the Carbon Technical Working Group, which comprises technicians from this training aim to equip national stakeholders with the skills to collect and manage carbon data, take stock of our forest carbon. Really large of trainees will use modern technologies, including high resolution aerial photography and advanced marine tools to estimate a global carbon stock. A similar exercise is already underway for the country mangrove to determine their carbon storage potential. Inclusive and accessibility Liberia market policy has already gone under technical review by experts from land industries and agency, civil society representatives, and development partners. It has also been presented to the National Climate Change Committee. In setting of Liberia, the rest we cover also. These consultations are central to ensure that the policy reflects the view and needs of ordinary Liberians, especially those whose livelihood depends directly on forest and natural resources. The upcoming national dialogue. To build on this momentum and ensure full national ownership, the EPA, along with the partners under the auspices of the National Climate Committee, will convene a national dialogue on the carbon market policies from August 21st to 22nd, 2025, in Kangar-Lawrence County. This dialogue will bring together county superintendents and development superintendents, ministers, organization and development partners, women and youth leaders, major representatives, and other major representatives, as well as media and student groups. The national dialogue is intended to provide a platform for all voices to be heard. Feedback and recommendations which will then move to a validation stage for formalization. Pathway to coming into law. Following the validation, the next step will be the drafting of a comprehensive climate change law. This law will not only enshrine the carbon market policy, but it will also establish a clear legal framework for climate change governance in Liberia. It will provide the rules, institutions, enforcement mechanism needed to guide climate action, regulate emissions, and ensure that Liberia market benefits ensure that carbon market benefits are shared fairly, particularly for forest-dependent and vulnerable communities. Conclusion: Liberia is committed to building a transparent, accountable, and inclusive market system that sustains forests of native communities and position the country as a credible player in the global carbon market financing mechanism. The EPA, the FDA, the National Climate Change Steering Committee, and all partners call on all citizens, civil society, and stakeholders to actively participate in this process. Together, we can ensure that Liberia's natural wealth becomes a source of resilience and prosperity for generations to come. I want to end about this to say that we can talk about many things, but today we chose to only talk about carbon market, but because it's extremely important. And I just also want to highlight that our country is going through tremendous transformation. And those of us who are part of it and those who are not part of it. But in the future, history might look at this period as a period of the beginning of the growth of Liberia. What a conquering hub with standing that was nicely renovated, with its building or undergoing serious renovation, or the Liberian Water and Sewer, or right down here in Ministry of Mines and Energy, or the EPA, and many other government buildings. There's a rebirth in terms of giving them favors. But also, if you get a look at the July 26th celebration, what happened in this country, and what happened around the world, a new form of hope is ignited in the people. And we all, if we continue to work at it, I think our country will be a better place. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
So you listen to the presentation by the Deputy Minister and also by the EPA boss. Please come in the queue and ask a question related to the subject under discussion. Please introduce yourself. Come in the queue. Please come forward.
My name is Joseph Salif, and I report for ABC Radio. My first question goes to Mr. Sando. First of all, let me thank the government of Liberia. The president has appointed the board for the Liberian National Tourism Authority, which is, I believe, is a rebirth of the tourism sector. Mr. Minister, there's this front-page Africa publication on the bearer of the Minister of State. We all know he served this country, and as someone at that level, he deserves a state bearer. We care to provide clarity on this. It is true that he will be buried in the United States, or he will be brought back here for state bearer. And to the EPA boss, usually during the dry season, we see people excavating decks and in different parts of our country. And our survey we conducted, most of these excavations during the rainy season, it caused flooding in the communities. I want to know how rigorous is when it comes to the enforcement or the enforcement of regulations of the EPA policy. Thank you.
Thank you, my name is Mokolu, and I report from inside Liberia. And I want to say thanks to Director and his team on the EP. He's a director. So let me ask a question. Executive is a senior director. Thank you so much, sir. All right. So the thing is the presentation was beautiful, but the issue of environmental issue is not just for the elite, it's also for the people in area the Jala Mountain. But the conversation, there was too much terminology that people down there may not understand exactly what we're talking about. So my concern is, I think it's a recommendation. Next time the conversation should be for the people so that they will know exactly what we're talking about. But the question is, the last time the meteorology team from the Ministry of Transport, they came, they said that there will be rainfalls in certain part of Liberia that will affect our viewings. The EPA should help in making sure that these people are informed of the forecast. Have you been doing something like that in one country and local and all of that? And my last question goes to the government in general. The current debate about the president taking over 22 government officials to Japan has been a conversation. But then, in your conversation, it seems to be like what being romanticized, wherein you say that it shouldn't be trivialized by the people it is intended. But Minister Sanders, you were one of those persons who criticized, previous government for taking huge delegates outside of the country. Then, now the people saying the same thing, you say that it shouldn't be trivialized. Is it the same trivialization then? Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Lesman Nguyen, and I report for Democracy Values. Thanks to the Executive Director, Dr. Apawolo, who spoke very plaintive and detailed, as a matter of fact. But there is this investigation that our person has been conducting with a mining company on the Busha Island, situated between the township of Kangar-Lawrence and the township of New Georgia, precisely Topo Village. And although the historic city of Busha Island is a small community with emphasis of Togo community and Topo Village, but that same mining company is there mining with the authoritative permit obtained from EPA that they have the right to present money to an environment that is already struggling, suffering from flooding and the issue of encroachment. How do the EPA reconcile giving permits to people, to private institutions, to operate or to present money in some communities that are already struggling from flooding and that of encroachment? And just a follow up to that, the Carbon Summit, not summit, but the Carbon Dialogue that is coming up, institutionally, are the institution been able to identify some attributing factors to the issue about what we call climate change in Liberia? And recent time you made a statement when you were presenting that in Banga, Banga presented Bon County, that Liberia holds 40% of the Guinean forest. And there are ways that can benefit us as a country. Do you get to share with the Liberian people what are some of those tangible ways the 40% that Liberia holds for the Guinean forest can benefit to our national economy? And to the government spokesperson, it will always be important that we raise to speak for the voiceless, those who are in breakthrough that cannot better speak to you, Minister Sano, will speak other issues. From your beginning statement, you said the president as an individual is not in Japan precisely to attend the Osaka Expo. But there is a contradiction also from the executive marshal release that the president is in Japan for two particular reasons. One is to attend the Tokyo conference, and the second is to attend the Osaka Expo conference. So you as a government spokesperson, and that coming from the ministry, that coming from the executive marshal, how do the Liberian, reconcile in terms of the balance of information coming from the two government, communications arm? And just a follow-up with that, in relation to the youth delegation, the president of DEN, critics argue that the president of DEN, George Weah, traveled, yes, with many people then, but some of these travels to the Quento brought in the establishment of the Emerald Hospital in Babulo County. Some of these travels with many delegations brought in the establishment of multiple invisible sports parks around Liberia. While it's true, all this was happening, but then this government, these people in power, then opposition, criticized all of those travels, not looking at some of the tangible benefit it had. Do Liberians at this point believe that there is no honest, no spirit of play in terms of our criticism? Let me go back. Let me rephrase the question now. So, Minister, let me rephrase the question. Previous government, former president, we had traveled plenty of people, and the plenty people in traveling government in Liberia, all of Liberia saying these people they travel plenty though, but they brought some other development like invisible sports park, like the Babu Hospital. Now the government empowered then, or sorry, the government I was not empowered, the opposition, they criticized, the president traveled plenty people. That's why the president traveled with plenty people brought in the development. So now that this government, now you people are empowered, and the president too. The president is doing just simultaneously. How do the Liberians take your criticism? Was it then insincere?
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Braton C, and I report for the Truly Independent Group newspaper. Well, I have just a question, and it goes to you, Dr. Lakawe. Just a days ago, I think I contacted you through your WhatsApp concerning the detailed investigation involving the devastating pollutions during the life of residents in 4 communities in Kenya. And sadly, the LWSC has been one of the key actors behind it. They have been collecting money and allowing commercial sewage truck drivers to dispose waste into the open. And this practice is affecting those who live in the surroundings. I shared the reports with you in few officials of government, but since then, there have been a serious silence. No one is speaking in that direction. Are there any plans to visit that community and see the situation that people are faced with? And if yes, what if LWSC is in violation of the environmental protection law? Are there penalties for that? Thank you very much.
Good afternoon to everyone in the sound. My name is Christopher Desmond, and I report for Even TV Liberia. Permit me to read here, David, the rule number 4 of the revised government of Liberia travel ordinance law. For specific trip like high-level meetings such as the United Nations General Assembly, the Africa-China Summit, Korea Africa Summit, the Commission on the Status of Women Conference, maximum amount of delegates shall not exceed 7. My question is, how can we reconcile this particular law along with the dedication of the President of Tokyo? Thank you.
Excellency and Sergeant, my report for Global Online TV. I have a question for Mr. Yabawo. This concern during your Save Forest Key to Fighting Climate Change campaign in MICAT County. And you said that we are blessed with more than 40% of the upper village forest. And he asked a question that I want to ask you that because that question was not answered. He said that how can we manage these new resources from how we manage our wood, iron ore, and now how can we do this at this time? Thank you.
Good afternoon, I'm Lawrence today in my report of an item. My first question goes to the Executive Director. Thank you for the explanation. When you talk about the summit or the dialogue that will be here in Kanta or in Lima County, I didn't hear you talking about some like the miners who are also there, mining. I didn't hear you talking about being part of the dialogue. How did you decide to bring it out? Then to Minister Sino, you were talking about the issue of citizens involvement in tackling drugs in the country. My concern is some of these citizens, they don't have the equipment, they're not even equipped to attack the drugs, they're not even the drugs users. Is the government planning to also aid them with some officers? If yes, what does the government expect from the engagement? Thank you.
My name is Jackson Sefa. Okay, so my first question goes to the Deputy Minister. So, let's go first to the chief. So my question here is, for the sake of transparency, can you tell the public the number of people that travel along with the president? And the second one is, how much it costs? What's the cost involved? Can you tell the public? My name is Jackson H. Saka. Jackson. So, TV. Yeah. So, can you tell the public how much was involved? How much involved in the travel, the process that's involved? How much the government is paying for? Then to the EPA bus. So, my question is about the issue of carbon monoxide. You know, people been complaining all along. Sometimes you see vehicles just getting off the smoking all over. So, is there any plans to put this issue under control because it is affecting the citizens? People just behave disorderly. Yeah, thank you.
My name is James and I report for Care Radio. This is just a follow-up question to what the minister said recently. I just want you to please clarify whether you said that this trip is being sponsored by the Japanese government, the government trip to. My name is James and I report for Care Radio. James T. Walkway, I report for Care Radio.
Yeah, so I'm Samuel Johnson, I report for Terror Online Television. I have a question for Mr. Sandy. I overheard you talking about the LBS media complex and even attaching it to President Buaka's recent trip to China. And so, in the last administration, we saw that project was being negotiated and fundings were already available for said projects. I'm Samuel Johnson. For said project, so I wanted you to provide more clarification as to whether that project is being implemented as of the trip made by President Buaka to China, or is a project that was being fully initiated by the last regime. Thank you.
Kangar-Lawrence, human report for DNS Liberia. My question goes to Mr. Sunny. Given on the current antivirus impact, a report for DNS Liberia. Given the current economic condition of the country, how can the government justify the SARS and the cost of the travel of the president and some officials of the government?
There's another meeting ongoing. So I'll take short as more part of questions, and then the minister will come later. Thank you. I will respond to the questions as they came in. The excavation of land during the dry season, and what we're doing about it. Our inspectors are in the field, and we are arresting fraud involved in this practice. One of the areas we are quite involved with the University of Liberia Fender campus land. We are excavating our land heavily. We've done some intervention there, and we are continuing to follow up with that. Recently, we impounded and arrested 2 different trucks in the Kawa community and 5 those at the police station. So our inspectors are working to put the situation under control. We want to take this time to inform the public not to do that. Do not excavate land. Don't. If you are to do, you require an environmental permit that will allow you to do that. In certain areas, certain development ongoing, you need to be excavated. You need environmental permit to allow you to excavate the land. We are asking the truck drivers and their union, especially, to advise their members to stop doing this. Because when we impound the truck, it's difficult for us to release it. We are in violation. And we know that, things are a little bit sometimes difficult. You don't want your truck to be parked while it's not running. So we get cautioning the public and the truck drivers to stop hauling dirt and filling the swamp. The carbon market, we explained it in standard English, and the gentleman said it was too hard. And a lot of people will not understand it. Well, we can go a little bit lower. It's a complicated phenomenon. That's the reason why we're having the public consultations in the counties. That's one of the reasons why we're having the dialogue to explain to people much more in the simplest term. I can summarize it in a minute. The earth is getting warm. It's called global warming. Literally, the earth is getting warm. What is causing the warming? There is a blanket of air that protects the earth from the sun. They filter the sun from hitting the earth too high. But that blanket of air is melting away. We're destroying it. Why are we destroying it? Especially the developed countries that are using things like coal, heavy fuel oil, clearing all the land and the rest of it. There's an air from it called carbon that goes inside. It's called greenhouse gas. And as it melts this blanket of air, the sun is hitting the earth very, very hard. Because of that, we see patterns of rainfall changing. Sometimes during the rainy season, the sun is shining. Sometimes during the dry season, the rain is falling. In other countries, sometimes a year or two, they are not experiencing any rainfall. It's impacting our agriculture. Our mothers on the farm, they don't know when to plant the rice anymore. Because way back, they used to have a constant season. The season is changing. One other thing this thing is doing also is that the ice is melting. Those who study high school geography, the earth is like a ball. The North Pole and the South Pole are block of ice. When the heat from the sun hits the ice, it's melting the ice. When ice melts, it becomes water. And so the volume of the ocean is increasing. And so West Point is threatened, Buchanan is threatened, Sano is threatened. All our coastal cities are threatened by the erosion. How do we solve this problem? One way to solve the problem, keep your forest standing. Why? The forest has the ability to take in the harmful gases we put it in the air. The forest can capture it and store it in them and send it on the ground. So the forest is cleaning the air that we are polluting and making it dirty. So we ask our people now to stay in the forest. But if your forest is standing and the mangrove made this work to clean the air, what do you get of it? So in 2015, the world got together in Paris and developed a big agreement called the Paris Agreement. Part of it is, if all your forest is standing, you should get some money from it because you are cleaning the air. Who will pay you? Those who are polluting the environment, they're going to be able to pay you for keeping your forest. That's what they call carbon market. For that market to happen, there are set of rules under the United Nations, and even in Liberia, you have to follow all things like benefit sharing. When money comes from forests, where that money should go? In the government pocket, in the people pocket, how should the government and the traditional people share the money? Who own carbon? So this is the kind of law or policy the EPA has been working on, along with FDA, Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, all of our partners, who are UNDP, MICAT, many institutions have been helping the EPA to do this work. And that's the one we're going to be having our policy dialogue now in Kanta. Okay? So at least our people can get a little bit sense of it. So we're asking our people then to not cut the forest, especially don't cut the mangrove. The mangrove has the ability to take the bad air more than 10 times than even the traditional forest. So we're asking them not to cut the forest down. Somebody asked questions on forecast on the CIS project. On the weather. That's going to be happening very soon. The EPA is implementing one project to be able to renovate all the weather stations and get new one in the country. And when that project is done, we'll be able to predict the weather to inform the farmers faster. So work is going on in that area. The mining situation in Topo Village. Thank you for bringing this up. You see, claim my attention to it, and thank you. And we're asking the public. By the tournament days, a lot of people are claiming my attention to these things because our inspectors are not able to be everywhere. I will follow up. Normally, the messages come to me, the inspector have a chat room and claim their attention to it. I say, this is an issue here. Please look into it, right? But it come in moments. So we'll look into it and we'll follow up with some update. But normally they are proactive to go there and make some intervention in those areas. But also, if they are money, like they talk about, they have an EPA permit, and the money they have an EPA permit, we can look into that. But EPA permit follow a set of criteria. If all somebody want to mine, they apply for a permit, we subject them what we call environmental impact assessment. So that means they will hire a third party, they will conduct study in that area, the main there in that area, all kinds of work is done, and all the boxes have to be corrected before we can allow that. So there's a process. So if they have the EPA permit, they're more likely they're not going through this process. However, no permit, they have conditions. Not because you get a permit, you can get to anything. So part of our responsibility is to ensure that those conditions are met. And so the particular case you have highlighted to us, we'll follow it. It ties into the question of the 40% forest and what Liberia stand to benefit is what we're talking about. If we can manage the forest, now they have something they call natural capital. Natural capital basically is what we describe the carbon that's one, the biodiversity, the animals that are there, that are not found in any part of the world, they are in Liberia. Those are the kind of property the country has. So if we manage this properly, especially when we get the policy done, when we open the country for carbon market, I think we'll be able to get some cash benefit and we'll be able to help the country. Pollution in the Fiamma area, yes, we send a series of text messages on that situation. Then I explained also, I will follow up with our inspectorate team to look into what is happening in Fiamma with the pollution. Follow-up question, if at all somebody is guilty, any kind of government entity, what a government entity, what a private entity, the law does not give exception, so we apply the law to everyone in every institution as the law mandates, so we don't pick and choose on that one. I think I have already talked about the carbon one. How can we manage our carbon to not repeat what in the mineral sector? Oh yes, that's why we're developing the policy. There are a lot of people running, want to invest 12 million, 10 million, 25 million. On what basis you want to do the investment? There has to be a clear policy as to how this thing works. If money is generated from there, how that money should go and what should be done with it. Of course, in the mineral sector, we see that there have been a lot of rip-off in terms of the country, a lot of minerals leaving the country with not much of a benefit. And we don't want that to happen if carbon market is going to be something that the country can benefit from. We start with a clear policy and a law that will be enforceable. So that's what we're working on that. Miners part of the national dialogue. We're inviting the private sector. We're inviting the leaders of the private sector. So there will be miners, there will be other people, but the private sector is going to form part of the dialogue. Okay? So I think that's all the pollution from cars. We're working on the policy now. We have an air quality kind of guideline, but we are now working on the pollution from vehicle in terms of that. The EPA clearly has mandate in this area. So that's something. So we started to enforce the environmental laws. We see that there are a lot of regulations. Law is broad. You have to zoom in terms of that. Like the one that will be evoked very, very soon, the noise pollution. The country is noisy, you know that, right? Our country is noisy. And for that reason, sometimes we inadvertently speak loud. We don't use to kind of noise. What are in the market, somebody get playing loudspeaker almost non-stop. Or what are the religious churches non-stop in terms of crusade? Every night they tarry and students can study around the areas. We are coming with that. And when they enforce it, you can't get people causing noise. Okay? Let me tell you something. People who want to listen to the word of God to come into the church, are you going to put a speaker outside for the whole people to hear it and force the message on them? It's not acceptable. So that one, very soon the team is working on it. We'll start with a rigorous public awareness first. Sometime we evoke the law and then the noise will start. We can't get it everywhere so noisy. So we already have a policy guideline on that, just to evoke it. And we are now going to be working with you at the media to help us elevate our voices, to tell these people, to inform them this is wrong. You don't go ahead just doing that. So I think, again, there are many things we can talk about. Let me not take all of your time. Let me give the minister a chance. Thank you, sir.
Yes, we take ask one question.
So Joseph Salif. There has to be a clear dichotomy between what the funding of a public official wants and what the government wants. When a public official is married, he has family, and in an event of the person's death, that family decides where he or she will be laid to rest, not the government. All the government can do is to work with the family to help them give that person a befitting burial. In the case of the former minister, the family prefer him to be buried in the United States where he died. The family is working closely with the government to have that done. When you ask a question, we will see whether there was a battle between the family and the government. There is no battle. But you just have to give it to them. They are the family. He's a statesman, yes, but he's a family man first. So they will decide where he will be buried. In the instant case, he said, since he died in the United States, he wanted to be buried there. Apollo. I would rather not try to join the former president into this unnecessary comparison. Because everything I see you're doing, the press people, is to draw a parallel between the government of His Excellency President Bouaka and the former administration. By doing so, you're not showing the former president respect. Because when you open that Bendoa badge and I start to highlight his SSAs, and they say, oh, the people at the Ministry of Information can take all the time talking to the former president. But between him, I say, you know the facts. Unlike the former president who left this country for 58 days to go and watch the World Cup, and then he went to play with his pet in Florida, came back here with his hair swinging. President Bouaka has never done anything that resembles that. So why do this urge, this knock about drawing the comparison? Oh, you're criticizing President Weir. The things that President Weir did to our country, the day President Bouaka attempts to do them, I will never defend him. So there's no parallel. Let us stop manufacturing this false sense of similarity. Oh, they criticize him. I said, yes, we criticize him. He left the country for 58 days. Went to Qatar. Saw the opening game in the World Cup. Went to Florida. Came back. Watched the final. No coming back here. At that time, we hear the price of gasoline has escalated. Therefore, red price was going up. And our president watching World Cup. Today, you have a situation where the government, since coming to power, has managed the economic situation, no gas shortage, no risk crisis. All of these commodities are available and the prices are declining. You can bear testament to that. The president is going out there. Some of the results that President Braga has brought back from his foreign travel. And yet people try to say, oh, and President Braga won the White World Cup and he brought Emory Hospital. It is not true. He came from that World Cup, went to Qatar, they gave him a jersey with his number, he signed on it. He came back there with his hands shrinking. When President Braga went to China to attend FOCA, and I'm going to tie in with a question I was asked by one of the colleagues who said, oh, you heard somewhere that the LBS new broadcast complex was negotiated by the former government. Let me tell you something. Maybe you are lost inside of the issues or the facts. But the People's Republic of China shut or those on Liberia. You know what happened? Because of the diplomatic blunder of the former administration. They shut down everything. They shut down everything. They took President Bouakai to go to China and re-establish that diplomatic confidence for the people. When he came back, all the doors were open. Some of your colleagues, they left for here, they went to China, they came back. I'm told the Ibis will be here on Thursday, so we can appreciate them. They are here. Some of them are here. The Chinese are now helping us at all levels. Ask yourself why that $5 million complex that was negotiated during the days of President Salif was put on hold. Ask yourself why the overpass that's supposed to be built from the boulevard to the ministerial complex, negotiated during the era of President Salif, why was it put on hold? Because the very government you try to compare this government to created diplomatic mess. I led the Chinese to say, we can't trust the people. We can't trust them. They're now worthy of our trust. We now have a government that came here. And in just under 2 years, these things that were put on hold, projects that were stopped, are back on track. And all you do is to try to create a false sense of comparison. That is unfortunate. That is unfortunate. We will now walk the path of the former government. We walk the path. The two presidents are not the same. So let us stop it. Let us stop it. The former president deserves to be what he is. So now you see him playing football in Ghana. That's why he would have been. Then he'd be there in peace. Every time we come to our press conference, you're calling him, and then he thinks that we're discussing, we're so concerned about him. Nobody cares about him. Nobody cares about him. The only thing I will not agree with you is when you try to create a false sense of similarity between one president who plays football from Monday to Sunday and one president who leaves the mansion at 8 o'clock in the night and is back there 8 o'clock in the morning. Why you do that? You can see the seriousness? Let us stop it. Sometimes I will present here the question when you pay attention. There are two statements I will issue. The marshal issue a statement, foreign ministry issue a statement. The foreign ministry said the president is going to attend the expo, right? And I told her, I said the president will not attend the expo. He come out and say, why is the president in Japan? The president is in Japan to attend the Tokyo International Conference on African Development. At the close of that conference, on the 22nd or the 23rd, the president will return to the country. It's not going to Osaka. Does it mean that other people on the president delegation will not go to Osaka? Of course, I told you that if not for the unfortunate passing of the Minister of Information sister, he will also be in Osaka. The Minister of Foreign Affairs will be in Osaka. The Minister of Commerce and Industry will be in Osaka. The President's Special Envoy on Tourism will be in Osaka. Because that is where they are going to showcase Liberia tourism potential. I thought I was very clear on that. So, and that's what I said in delegation. The government used one stone to kill two birds. Some of the people who are with the president in Tokyo currently, at the close of that Tokyo conference, they'll be moving into Osaka for the summit. And that's where I said that the government of Japan provided support for the presence of the Liberian delegation at the Expo 2025. So Desmond, I think I addressed the latter part of your concern about the two presidents' travel. One has been beneficiary. One was very less effective. It brought nothing to the country, and I don't wish to go further on that. Somebody talked about Bestman asked about the travel ordinances. So the revised travel ordinances that you try to quote, it is limited to cabinet ministers, right? When the president is on a delegation, there's an exception to that ordinance. So, for example, if the minister of Information, the Minister of Finance is heading the country delegation to a particular conference, the number of persons cannot exceed 7, right? They cannot be there for more than a particular number of days. That's what the ordinance says, but it does not apply in a case where the president is heading that delegation. Larry, citizens are not vulnerable. And citizens are not engaging drug dealers directly or users directly. Citizens are aiding the fight against illegal drugs and other dangerous substances that are destroying the future of the young people. If you are a community leader, if you are a parent in the community, and you see one drug lord in your community using a house as a ghetto, and you don't do anything to help the government expose that person, then you are an accomplice. Which is why few communities around Monrovia are now gearing up, working with the police, the joint security, the DEA, to identify these criminal hideouts, move in there, conduct citizen arrest, and turn the people over to the police people. I see absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's the government, the intervention the government will make is not to give the citizen arms. It's to encourage the citizen to work with the security apparatus. Of course, citizen arrest is something that is encouraged in our jurisprudence. So there's nothing wrong with the citizen coming together in the community to say, your activities here endangers our community and the young people who don't want to hear will call the police before you. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So, again, the marshal announced the composition of the president's trip, 23%. Jackson said, I should justify the composition of the president's trip. I read even a itinerary that gave every member of that delegation a specific role. When there are economic, financial issues that are being discussed, you can carry the Minister of Information there, and the Minister of Finance. When there are investment issues that will be discussed at a particular meeting, and maybe you should try to get the agenda for the entire conference, and you know what we're talking about here. So that's the size of the delegation of the president. On the cost, I cannot put a cap on the cost. Why? Because the Ministry of State has not furnished the Ministry of Information with that information here. Also, you have to understand there are other ministers on the trip whose travel cost is being covered by their respective entities, right? For example, if the Minister of Finance on that trip, the Ministry of State is not buying his ticket. The Ministry of Finance will buy his ticket directly. So if you want to ask me for the cost, then I have to coordinate with all of these entities to say, oh, let's put it together to know how the travel costs. If that can be done, I don't want to provide you inadequate information on the travel cost of the president's delegation. So again, James asked whether the trip is fully sponsored by the Japanese government. No, partly sponsored. Those who are going to the Osaka 2025 Expo, they are being sponsored by the government of Japan. Those who are with the president at the TICA conference, that cost is being covered by the Liberian government. So I did speak to the issue of the LBS complex. You need to ask yourself why it was not completed on the 6 years on the former administration. That's because of the diplomatic mess they created. The Chinese, they didn't feel comfortable with them, and they put a hold on all of the projects in Liberia. It is now that a responsible government came here, engaged them, and they reopened their doors, and these projects are ongoing. We take pride in the fact that we were able to convince the Chinese to open the doors and to continue to do what they do for us to help us, because communication is a challenge in the country. If the state broadcaster is equipped in a way that I can stand here and speak to the citizens in the last part of Maryland County, then we know we are improving, because communication in this age and time is very important. Very important. I know social media is predominantly the way information is disseminated now, but traditional media still plays a role. There are people who don't have social media pages, who don't have internet, they listen to ERBC. So if ERBC is equipped, that a spark can get to the last man across the country, it's a good thing that we should celebrate as a country. How can the size of the president's delegation be justified in the face of economic hardship? So let me answer the question in reverse. So because there's unemployment in Liberia, everybody sits here. The government should not go out to look for investment opportunities. How do we overcome unemployment? How do we overcome the issue of lack of investment in our country? Is it by sitting back here, leaving our horses every morning, coming to work and go back home? The things we want to do cannot be done locally. We have to knock on international doors. Today the president is meeting with the president and chairman of the board of the African Bank. Do you know some of the investment opportunities that will secure as a result of that meeting? Given the fact that they're going to make a strong, convincing, and persuasive case for Liberia. So let us not get distracted. And because there's hardship, so nobody is going to travel. Okay, so the size of the delegation has been justified because there's nobody on that delegation who is going to be a spectator. There's nobody who is going to wind down and just come back here. They all have specific roles to play. That is why we were included on that delegation. And I think for once, as a country, we have to keep our eyes on the bigger picture. What do we want for ourselves? We cannot keep this country going in a cycle of blind criticism only because we want to be political. No, that's not what you want. If a government is working, let's give the government the time to work. But we run the country like everybody knows everything. Everybody knows everything. I don't come on the podium to pretend to know financial issue. I'm not a financial person. When you ask me about the travel ordinances, I asked the Deputy for Administration. I said, what does it say? He said, oh, it doesn't cover the president. But everybody knows everything. Tomorrow they say the court finished shutting down neck. They say, everybody was interpreting it. The church people go there, they like the church, everybody interpreting it. Everybody knows everything. What do you know that the people on the delegation for which you are criticizing? So let us wish the delegation well as they make able representation there of the motherland. And the outcome, the expected outcome from the conference will be celebrated as a country. We'll coordinate with the team in Tokyo to give you further updates on some of the activities that will take place between today, tomorrow, and on Thursday. Thank you very much.